To jump right in, want to remind you, Jim not personally involved in the case, but he has been following it closely. Joining us now this morning. Again, we appreciate your time. What a wild 24 hours we have seen here. What do you think the most significant legal issue is right now based on the situation as it stands right now?
His medical condition is going to lead to the question as to whether is he competent or not competent. The judge is not going to proceed or let any party proceed if the defense, the defendant, is not competent, and that's defined by two different things. One, is the person capable of understanding the proceedings? And two, can they cooperate meaningfully with their defense lawyer? And here, that's a very hard question because people who go anoxic, that is without oxygen for a period of time, they can range from being, essentially a vegetable to being just a little diminished. And for each person, it's unique. So they're going to wait to see what the docs say.
All right, so folks who watched our breaking news coverage with Tim and Erica yesterday, this all kind of was sparked from Fotis Dulos missing a bond hearing, and somebody went to his house and things proceeded from there. A judge has said that bond hearing rescheduled for today. They're moving forward this afternoon. What do you make of that? How's that going to work with him in hospital?
Well, for now, he's not able to leave the hospital. He'll probably be ordered confined in the hospital, and that at such time as he's capable of leaving the hospital, the judge is going to want to decide, first of all, with respect to the financial issues that had nothing to do with his health, what those are all about and whether they can resolve those. And then secondly, whether or not the judge wants to change the conditions, because the most important thing about bond is not punishment. It is just to be sure the person shows up in court. Well, they can't show up if they're dead. So the judge needs to make sure he is protected from self-harm so that he will be available for the justice system.
This case was already so complicated. There was a divorce proceeding. He is in a legal dispute with his mother-in-law, questions about custody involving his kids. So certainly this was already quite complicated. What happens here if Fotis Dulos is potentially not coherent for a very long period of time?
Well, the hardest question is going to be what happens to these, what I'll call secondary defendants, whose principal role has been to get them to cooperate and give information against Fotis, the alleged killer. So that is a hard question for the prosecutors to deal with. They can keep that on hold for as long as the defendants are willing, but defendants also have a right to a speedy trial. So I'm sure the lawyers will be talking to the prosecutors about that. As far as those three different civil matters that you're talking about, those will proceed. They can't stop. They do have a right to closure on the financial issues. The custody is obviously going to take this into account. And it still doesn't close the question as to some visitation. The fact that he may have diminished capacity for cooperating in paying attention to a criminal case is one thing. But if his diminished capacity, it's still a question of what's in the best interest of the kids. So the judge is going to have to focus on a very hard question, is whether it's better for the kids to have had some time with their dad, because kids care about their parents no matter what the parents have done, or whether that's going to be harmful.
So much to get to here. Authorities saying this was an attempted suicide yesterday. What does that mean for public perception? As an attorney who's trying to make a case on behalf of his or her client, what does that say to you?
Well, my first thought was that all you think about is the pool of jurors. And I would say probably more than half of jurors will draw the conclusion that, aha, he must know he's guilty and he wants to get out of it. I'm sure most people thought that about Epstein. Who knows what people think about Aaron Hernandez. But there are going to be some people, the higher thinking people, who are going to think, well, he may have feared conviction irrespective of whether he's guilty. And so somebody takes their life looking at the prospect of, well, the rest of my life is in prison. And going through the trial is no picnic either. So those are the issues.
All right. We know that there are two other individuals charged in this case. Coming up in our next hour, we'll talk more about that. Plus, if folks at home have questions, share 61 at fox61.com, and we'll see you again in our 8 o'clock hour.
Very well.
All right. Tim and Erica, we'll send things back to you.